There's 150.
That's earmarked for that.
Right.
Okay.
Did they just ask about early childhood? Is that right? Are they talking about early childhood?
That's just for balance.
Okay. It works out. I don't know the way I had it figured. In my mind, I had it figured we had about 350,000 minus whatever we had earmarked, which makes it about 290.
If there is already one,
Lynn's not going to be here, I know.
I'll make sure, I'll double check. We talked about that today, and I think she read that.
I thought Mary was going to be here. I didn't realize that.
Lynn on vacation, school.
All right.
That was the blank that he filled in. Yeah, so just let me know. Maybe we can straighten all that.
Everyone rise, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads with me, please. Thank you, dear Lord, for this day. Thank you for the opportunity that we can serve our community. I pray that you help us make good business decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. City Council meeting Monday, October 7th, 2019 comes to order. Roll call, please.
Mary Burnton, Jeff Hancock.
Present.
Jerry Walton.
Here.
Aaron Dickens.
Here.
Mark Hogan.
Here.
Lynn Purdue. Rex Beckman.
Here.
Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes from the former meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walton.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hogan.
Aye.
Rex Beckman.
Aye.
Mr. President, I'll turn this meeting over to you.
Thanks, Mayor. We're going to do resolutions first. Resolution 1007, 2019-1, resolution authorizing certain lease purchase agreements. Whereas the City of Newcastle, Indiana, leasing a political subdivision duly organized and existing municipal corporation in the state of Indiana is authorized by the laws State of Indiana to purchase, acquire, and lease personal property. The benefit of the leasee and its inhabitants is, and to enter into a contract respect thereto, whereas the leasee desires to purchase, acquire, and lease certain equipment. One is a Pierce Arrow XT tower truck. This is a fire truck valued at $1,499,400. And two, a Pierce Saber side control pumper truck valued at $620,800. Constituting personal property necessary for the leasee to perform essential governmental functions, and whereas in order to acquire lease equipment for leasee purpose, to enter into certain lease purchase agreement, the agreement and the lowest rate quote institution approved by the Board of Works, whereas the principal of the amount said lease is $2,120,200, whereas the Common Council of the City of Newcastle deems it for the benefit of the leasee and for the efficient and effective administration thereof, to enter into the agreement as provided into the agreement for the purchase, acquisition, and leasing of equipment to be therein described on the terms and conditions therein. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Does council have any questions about this? You've got packets in your packets from Mark and from the mayor. If no other questions questions, I move that we accept this resolution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for working on that diligently, get that accomplished. It's very much needed.
We need them pretty bad.
Appreciate that.
Well, any other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Covert.
Aye.
Rex Steckelbaum.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next is Resolution 1007-2019-2, a resolution authorizing certain lease purchase agreement, whereas the City of Newcastle political subdivision, whereas the lease desires to purchase, acquire, and lease certain equipment. It's JK Communications, City Emergency Services, Police, Fire, and EMS, the 800 megahertz handheld mobile and Bluetooth radios, constituting personal property necessary for the leasee to perform essential government functions. Whereas the principal amount of said lease is $325,240.44. And whereas the Common Council of the City of Newcastle deems it for the benefit of leasing and for the efficient and effective administration thereof to enter into the agreement as provided for the agreement for the purchase, acquisition, and leasing of equipment. Again, this is for the radios for the fire, police, and EMS. Mayor's talked about this extensively over time. Other organizations were dragging their feet. Frankly, we are all tired of it, and we're ready to move forward with this, and we're going to do it on our own to quit putting our emergency services in danger. So I move that we accept this.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Covert.
Aye.
Rex Steckelbaum.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dave, I'll turn the floor over to you to open up the public hearing on the amending the zoning district first. 3810.
At this time, the floor is open for the council to receive comments and evidence regarding the rezoning of the property. It's currently a parking lot at the corner of South 14th and Walnut. It is a rezoning of that property from its current zoning to a commercial zoning. It's my understanding the desired use would be the construction of a Little Caesar's Pizza place. At this time, if anybody wishes to present comments, evidence to council regarding this particular matter, they should come forward, state their name and address, and provide the council with their information or comments.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is John Carnes Jr. I come here to represent my father, John Carnes Sr., which I think you may all know. My father was at Alcoa for some time, and then moved back to Charlotte. He served the city as, I believe, in the street department as well as a senator. So I think you all pretty much know who he is. The property in question would be my father's property at 424 South Main Street, which is directly west of the property that's proposed in PC 419. The rezoning of PC 419 from R3 to C1 without a plan in place for the actual buildings themselves creates some questions for me. Also, the fact that there's a one-way street due south of the property, which is a limited access street, is a one-way. And I have no idea, what the traffic implications would be on that area. Because it appears that they're looking at the property itself without a plan. I would assume that the building would be facing the east, and that the delivery and the vector control of the trash would have to be removed from the Walnut Street side of trash pickup for the city themselves. This is kind of a self-serving piece that I'm going through right now with my father, being the implications it would have on the property that's adjacent. They have limited backyard. They have a 10 by 12 stained glass window that faces that direction. With a light system in the pizza facility, it will definitely have light pollution into the entire house because that stained glass window is the staircase, and it will expose both the upstairs and the downstairs to the excess light, if they do have light on that property, which I'm assuming they will. And I have obtained a couple of pictures from the Little Caesars, and it shows that there is a drive-through. And I know you guys have seen these examples of what has been proposed to you. With this configuration, I'm going to assume it's going to be a rectangular shaped box, and I'm assuming then the deliveries and of course the trash pickup would have to be from the rear, which is on the west side of the property, which is going to put the dumpsters immediately at the back of my family's home. My father's garage is there, and the property line is beyond the wall, a few inches beyond the wall that's there currently. And having a trash behind our house there is going to be a great issue. There's also, it appears by the pictures here that they're looking for some nighttime activity and the noise, not only from the ordering station, but all the drive-through, but also from the radios from the automobiles would be a problem, plus the lights from the cars would be directly into their backyard. They do have 2 bedrooms that do back up to that side as well. And I do have some pictures here of the current condition of the dumpsters in that area. If I could pass these, take a look at it.
John, how many windows are on that side of the house, of your dad's house?
There is an exposed kitchen, there's an exposed kitchen refrigerator room, there's probably 6 in the rear entrance foyer. Upstairs, midway, there's a 12 by 10 stained glass window that is There is 4 windows, I believe, on the north side, and 1 window on the south side of the house that faces to the east. So there's quite a lot of light there. Now, I know these pictures aren't really too easy to see, but taking a look at where the trash would have to be, you can see here, this is the rear of the building on the top right-hand corner, and it's pretty well uncovered. If you look to the right in the picture in the middle here, you're going to see the actual cover for that is on the ground. And the dumpster is almost empty. Now, I don't know whether the trash schedule is or what, but it appears to me that there may be some people that may be going through that for the late night throwaway snack. I'm not really sure. There is trash on the ground now, and the actual landscape around the building is quite a mess right now. So any promise of any type of buffer from this property may be in vain, considering what's going on right now at the location. And that would be just my opinion. You're welcome to look at this and judge for yourself on that. Also, the traffic. I think it's 502, there's one company that just closed on a house after 3 years of a lease purchase agreement, I believe. This was able to close recently. They have 2 children. I spoke with them today. They're not able to come because I had no idea that this was going on until last week. I've been taking over my father's finances for the last week and a half, and I have just recently established that I have not seen that document. And I did checked today, and you understand that it was sent, and then it was delivered by the post office, so that notice was given. I didn't know this, so it was not here for the first reading. I do understand also that there was a property that was, that's adjacent, but on the corner of 14th Street and Indiana Avenue that was in consideration for this project, but for some reason it chose to move the location that had less of a egress and ingress into the area. And I'm not really sure why, I'm not sure it was price. It had something to do with that, because they have just about exactly the same square footage on that. My concern also is the foot traffic, as well as the exit traffic. Mom and Dad have lived on that, in the house since the late 90s, and I couldn't tell you the exact date of that. But personally, I have almost been struck 3 times by traffic going in the wrong direction down the street. So for the children that are across the street from them, I spoke to the parents today, and they will be putting up a privacy fence there to protect the children a little bit better, because they're daily picking up the trash. And some of that does include their bottles, etc. The usage of the Old Baptist Church. The lack of parking for that structure will make that structure obsolete. There are approximately 21 parking spaces south of, west of the church, and that does not include any room for any handicapped spaces that would just be for regular automobiles in that area. So any future use of that building may have to be limited due to the fact that the parking is not available or may not be enough. And I do understand, after watching many years of the French church, people parking in that lot also, that they do utilize that on Sundays as well. My other question was, with the load, you mind if I ask the street commissioner a question? I couldn't find ordinance that discussed the load limits for the regular surface streets in Newcastle, other than the fact that there's a 5,000 limit on a few of them.
Well, to be real honest with you, I don't know. I know that in the county, they have load limits over the bridges. The city does not have bridges per se. I know on Garner Street, there's a tonnage. But the city streets in Newcastle, as far as I know, and the council may be able to help me on this, I'm not sure that there is any actual established. There's some streets that say no trucks, but we all know that doesn't keep the trucks off of there if they need to go down there and make a delivery. So to answer your question, I'm assuming you're talking about an 80,000-pound semi pulling in there and delivering to the proposed site for Little Caesar's Pizza. No, that side street will not hold an 80,000-pound truck very long if it's constantly going up and down that truck. To answer your question.
That was my question.
As we're redoing our streets, we fall back on the state requirements. So as we tell the companies that's coming to redo our streets that our city requirements are the same statutes that the state requires. So as they've been digging some of these up, we found that there's no base underneath them. They might have been a brick road, and they so we try to bring them back to standards. But every road has not been judged with a tonnage of weight that's driving on.
What goes along with that also, Mr. Mayor, would be a question for the water department or the sewer department. There are mains that run through Main Street, and there are mains that run down the streets, and generally they're in the streets. The materials that those are made of currently is concrete or clay or
Water cast iron, right?
Water cast iron. But the sewer lines are more than likely some type of a clay top.
I would have no idea.
Well, taking a look at the.
Usually it's a cement structure, it's not clay tile. It should be a cement, some are 24 inches round, and it would be
24
clay.
inch going down.
It would be clay tile, 24 inches round.
But the side streets maybe.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
The only way you know,
It's hard
be able
to
to really tell is if you're gonna have issue with it, what would be actually to take a camera and really take a look at that. But I would guess my opinion, but that would be one of the things. Considering, those things, and I would like to move back to my father's concern about the light, the vector control, of course, and the extra noise that's going on there. Those are big problems that he's gonna have, and that's gonna affect the resale of his home, and we're gonna have to sell his home sometime, and the self is gonna feel it on us. So we're gonna be, we're gonna have to do that, and it'll have a very, very adverse effect to have, a major, and that place does do a lot of business on Grand Avenue. I was over there today for a little while, and, 26 and a half hours, very, very, very easy in the middle of the afternoon. So, I think that it's probably a good idea to either table this or vote against it. So this new study could be done on actually the traffic patterns that will have to be in consideration for that. Because having 10-foot entrance and exit on the front of that, will have to have something on the side because the semi can't make that turn. I don't believe you can even make that turn coming on to Walnut. So that would have to be considered. My understanding is that there's been no formal plan that has been given to the council or to the planning commission concerning the exact locations, buildings, of ancillary structures. of that
That's
type.
not required.
I understand.
For rezoning, that's
It's not required for rezoning. But however, for the building of it, it is required, correct?
When they get their building permit,
When they get their-
if this works.
And what type of, maybe you can answer this for me, because I couldn't find that today, I have some code information, but I'm not sure it's correct. What type of buffer is required between a C1,
20 feet.
a C1 and a R3?
20 feet in the rear.
20 feet in the rear, and is there any type of
Actually,
vegetation?
if commercial, a bus commercial, there's 0 setback in the sides, 25 in the front. If it abuts residential, it's 6 foot on the side.
Okay, if they do that, then they're going to this cut in the sidewalk that would allow them to access the rear of the property for purposes of the.
What's that?
The cut is immediately on the property line.
The what?
The cut for the.
Street cut?
Street cut, for the ingress, egress, for the street cut back there, and it actually butts up to, my parents' property.
Yeah,
So that would
yeah.
have to be, so there'll have to be a 20-foot buffer, but there's no vegetation requirement there.
Well, there is between the two parcels, that was part of the deal between the corner lot and the parking lot. In the back, they agreed to put a fence up, I do know that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys wouldn't mind taking a look at the fence that's on the current property, it's a shadow box fence and chain link with a partial, it looks like it would be a 1950s style, what do you call the things you're running through on the side of the road? They're made of metal.
Guardrail.
Guardrail, thank you very much. Guardrail, that is a part of our system, and we can take a look at that photo right now if you'd like, but I would like some clarity on that, at some time if you didn't know. I do think it's gonna have a negative effect, if you understand there's some properties that are for sale right now that are due east of that property, and I think it will have an effect on those values for the residential to keep it there. This house was also built by the Jennings. And this is the middle brother of the Jennings family that built this house. And I think it needs to remain in its current, or improved, which it will be very soon, condition. The only other questions that I may have is, what would you do with the old Baptist church, the old Baptist church, what happened to it if it wasn't able to be used as, there's no parking anywhere.
In a couple of conversations that I've had, there's some interest on it for private use that would not need any parking. It'll be private owned and not,
Is there a contract on that?
no contract on it.
The city can't, the city can only deal with what's been given, which is a petition to rezone this property. What would happen to the Baptist church is up to the owner of the Baptist church.
I do understand.
I mean,
But we all have had conversations with some other people that are interested in it. I can't put anything in writing, tell you what is gonna happen to it. But I do know somebody that's very interested in it, but not for a church. Basically, that's all I can say right now. It's
I
not
spoke
not for a
personally
church.
to 15 people who've been interested in it over the years. So, you know, who owns this property, I'm interested in it, because it was the back of my father's property. I do feel that it is in the best interest of the remaining residential that's in that area to choose a little location for this. And actually for the demographics of the reasons I've stated today, because it will affect my family's value in the home. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Did this go through the Board of Zoning? I mean, wasn't that what
It went to the plan commission,
The planning commission?
and they recommended approval.
Did that go through unanimously?
It went through because there was no opposition that came up to speak against it until John found out about it at a later date,
Which is last.
so.
But didn't that certified letter go out to come to that meeting?
You'll have to ask Janet, but yes.
Yes, it did go out.
But that's why we have two tiers of this, isn't it, that we have a planning commission and
And the
council.
planning commission is advisory.
Yeah, it's all-
The final decision is up to council.
Correct.
And that's the same way it is in the county, only it would be the commissioners that make decisions.
It did go out, I checked that with the building commissioner today, and I did see those. I did not receive them from my father, of course, because it's been lost in the mail, but I did speak to the people that are actually due south of there, and they claim they did not receive it. And they've lived in that home for 3 years. They couldn't be here this evening because of those previous obligations and the babysitting. They had to come and speak at a different time if necessary. Well, thank you all for your time, and please take into consideration the fact that my family does use that backyard for that back area for doing gatherings. And I believe that the increased weight in noise and the possibility of pollution from back there, of course, from the rodents and actually trash, street traffic would adversely affect the property. And I apologize for not being here sooner, but I just heard this last week. And I think-
You're here at the appropriate time, this is the public hearing.
But thank you very much.
Thank you.
That fell out of here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for having me. I'm the current owner of the Little Caesars in town.
What's your name and address, sir?
Paul Armstrong. I live in Fishers, Indiana. My property is at, or it's not my property, the property we lease currently is at 1726 Grand Avenue in Newcastle. When we opened our little, I'm gonna try to hit a lot of bullet points from, what he was wondering about with the property. When we opened up 11 years ago, we put $120,000 into the current property we're in. And we had a landlord that was very helpful. I believe we got an award from the city of Newcastle for property improvement. And we kept the property in great condition until we ran into the issue that our current landlord passed away and left the property to a new person, and their refusal to do anything with the property. We've been searching for a new Little Caesars site for the better part of 3 years now, and, obviously recently found one that we looked at. The McCollins property that we had looked at, that we didn't take, had nothing to do with anything other than the size of the property wasn't proper. If we could be on that corner, we'd love to be on that corner, it's just not a big enough piece of property to fit a store. And this one is slightly bigger. Our land, you know, the fence in the background that separates us from our one neighbor was the existing fence and in great repair when our landlord was there, and we keep it up as best as possible. It is, the new landlord basically has refused to do anything with the property. I think she had a case here and recently did a few improvements to the property that was demanded by the city, and it was strictly because she was under obligation from the city to repair it. So I'm looking at it as when we move to this property, I hope to be a good neighbor, you know, and it will be my property, and I will be the one who's responsible for it. So if there's something that breaks down, or if there's an issue with the lot or anything, you know, we plan to repair it and keep it in good repair. That's one of the reasons we want to own our store, is so that we don't run into a situation that we're currently in, where we have a landlord that has a refusal to do something and we can't. For us, we want to remodel the store and do a whole bunch of stuff, but the building's falling apart, and there's nothing we can really do about the building side with not knowing what she's going to do with the property. As far as the garbage, we'd have a corral and keep it, you know, locked in. I know our current dumpster, we've had a call into the dumpster company because our lid broke off of the dumpster when they were dumping it a couple weeks ago. And we've got a call in for a new dumpster to come out, and they just have not brought it to us. As far as lighting, we're a family restaurant. We're not a late night. We're not trying to pick up bar crowds. Our current store, we close at Monday at 9 o'clock. We close at 10 o'clock Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we are open till 11 o'clock on Friday and Saturday. We don't plan on changing those hours. The drive-through will not have a SWAT box. It is strictly a pickup window, and it's actually, kind of looked at it, it would be a way for people to get in and out easier and would cause less, you know, people loitering in the parking lot. It would be more of a quick flow through the area. And if there's any other questions, I mean, I know there's a whole bunch of bullet points you had there.
Mr. McCown did request that there was some kind of barrier in between.
Correct.
To the north.
Yeah.
The fence to the west, what are your thoughts, or what are your?
Behind us, directly in between our
Yeah.
properties, we were planning to put up a fence, and I'm willing to, you know, talk with them and look and see what they're looking for. I mean, obviously, if it's, you know, outrageously priced, it's probably something I wouldn't do in that, but, I mean, as long as it's within reason, I mean, I don't want to add a burden. I know in our current situation, you know, I don't know now, I have not talked to the neighbors in, you know, 6-8 months, but we always had a fairly decent relationship with, you know, the neighbors across the street, the neighbors to the one side. We have where as you described, the old barrier that's in the alleyway, you know, kind of the highway thing, you know, occasionally in the spring we'll forget to chop it down, and, you know, the plants will go everywhere, and our one neighbor comes over and will ask us to, you know, hey, go out there and chop it and get, you know, so that they can see coming through the parking lot. And, you know, we've always gone out and tried to, you know, help out and do what we can to be a good neighbor. I mean, Newcastle is a smaller town, and everybody usually knows each other. So in a town like this, the last thing we want to do is make one person upset. Because if you make one person upset, chances are they know a lot of people in town, and that's not a great way to do business. So, I mean, you know, hope to be a good neighbor, and if it is approved, we'll do everything we can to accommodate so that we're not shining lights in. And the nighttime photo was actually to show that we weren't flooding it with lighting, that we weren't, McDonald's big sign where, obviously when we come to the commission with our planning for signage and everything, we're gonna try to be respectful to a residential area. And is there any other questions anybody has?
Well, now, I know you don't have a set in stone plan. I mean,
Yes.
But what direction will your store face? Will it face 14th
It's gonna
Street?
face 14th Street. With the cutout that goes down Walnut, we, as we talked in the first meeting with the planning commission, is if you guys feel that's a burden, we don't really need a curb cut on Walnut. If that keeps traffic going down that way, we're fine with taking a curb cut, out of there. I mean, that doesn't make a difference to us one way or the other, because there'll be 2 curb cuts in the front, hopefully to keep people, either coming around the building or,
So your semis would come in off of 14th?
Our
then, and
semis would come in off
exit
of 14th.
onto 14th?
Yeah.
And, let's see, what was the, go ahead, and somebody else have a question I may have. I think I've got one more.
So the traffic would drive around to the west, circle, come back in, pick up window, and then they would go back out on the 14th.
Yeah, or we'd have the traditional pickup where they're parking and, going out, but we wouldn't have a, squawk box where somebody's asking to take an order. We'd like to use, we are pushing our online ordering, and what we're hoping is that for online ordering, if we're not using our new electronic box, that we'd be giving them out through the.
So the pickup would be like call in, order in, instead of, when you drive up,
Yep.
you don't have to get out and go in, you would just pull up
Correct.
the window, pick your order.
Well,
We
they
do
have
the
hot and ready.
We do hot and ready pizzas, so for the drive-through, we would kind of set it up as, if somebody's coming up trying to order specialty pizzas or something that isn't a hot and ready item, we'd ask them to park and come in. It's really more for a hot and ready or picking up an order, so that it would kind of be a little better flow.
So it would be a squawk box at the back that you order, and then
No
pull up the
squawk-
window.
yeah.
You literally pull up and place the order at the window.
Or, no, actually, it'd just be pay and grab your food. We try to discourage people from ordering at the window. I mean, obviously, if it's, very end of the night and somebody says, hey, want to get an Ultimate Supreme, we'd tell them, yeah, if you could park and come in, that'd be the easiest way for us. I mean, we don't want to have a two-way intercom system where people are, ordering. One of the things is, especially with residential, and your stacking issues that you can get and delays, because we're trying, obviously with the hot and ready, we try to go pretty quick through it.
Paul?
Yeah.
Are there gonna be lights on the west side toward your farms, or?
That, I don't have any issue with not putting any lights at the back of the building, but that would be up to building commission, because I believe we have to have lighting as a business at some point, but, I mean, the design of it would be set up so that it's not shining. The, trash pickup, as far as schedule-wise, we usually do an 8-yard dumpster, and it's once a week. And if going to a smaller dumpster and going twice a week is a more convenient, better thing to do, we would be willing to do that. Our truck delivery is once a week. Currently, he delivers, I believe he arrives right now, and they change it on me every couple months. But they usually come in around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, key in, and they put the food away, and then we come back and, we organize.
What size are these trucks?
It is a semi.
It is, okay.
How much space do you foresee between the back of your building and the Carnes property? There's got to be a 20-foot buffer, but, I mean, that may or may not be enough for your
We kind of looked at it as the back area would be where our employees would park to keep customers away from, pulling in and pulling out, and flashing lights all the time, so that would kind of be the employee parking area, so it'd be, somebody coming in once and leaving once, and it wouldn't be constant traffic at the back of the building. And then we'd obviously have to have room for a car to drive by and a car to, swing around the building for our pickup window.
So that would put you probably at least 30 to 40 foot off the property line.
Yeah, currently there's a mature tree line in there, John, towards the back, the dad's property, saying there's a 20-foot buffer that has to be placed. But I mean, there's a tree line that's, the tree line's coming out, and actually the wall belongs to my farm, we're gonna have to run to the 18, haven't seen the survey, don't you, I need to take out the wall, and that's how we'll cut, so he's gonna have to cut it out.
It's important to direct your comments to council.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Now, the buffer, as I understand it, can simply be parking lot, correct, Mr. Miller?
Yes.
It'd just be parking lot, so there's no requirement for any type of.
Just a 20-foot setback's a requirement from
So
the
not a
building
buffer,
to the building.
Yeah, it's not a setback, not a buffer.
Right. We don't have a buffer requirement.
At all.
We don't have a buffer requirement.
Mr. President, is there any reason why we couldn't table this and let the parties talk about this stuff? And
Not at all. I mean,
I just don't feel
I think there's a
comfortable
lot
where
of
we are right
unanswered
now. And
questions
They're,
that-
they're trying to talk it out here, and
I think we need to see an actual architectural plan drawn up with, amenities that include a fence, your buffer on the north side from McCowan, your lights, of where they're gonna be placed before, I think, anybody on this council is willing to make a decision.
Okay.
I think we owe that to the current.
I don't know.
Well,
We
the
owe it to
the people on the other,
Yeah, we owe it
across the street.
A lot of people. The zoning, like you said, the zoning is one thing, is what we did, but now it's come to council, and now we have a concern, obvious concern. But I think if we see, as a council, see an architectural plan, design, where you're gonna put things, to kind of hold your company and yourself to that, through the building inspector's office, of what you're going to do.
I feel better about it right
And-
now than I did.
I mean, your word's
but I'd
one
like
thing,
to
but showing us
see
is
the
another.
No,
Plan.
I understand.
Do you want that to be a committee, Mr. President?
No, I don't think it needs to be a
Just
committee. I
need to make a
think
motion to table it.
when you have your plans together, you and Sam, call the mayor's office, we'll put you on the agenda, to tell us you're coming, we'll know, John will know you're coming. So,
Is this normally how that's handled?
you know what, normal's not the word to use in this situation. I don't think anything's normal.
I'll just make a motion, Mark, that we table this until the parties can come together and speak.
Yeah, I second that.
So the public hearing is being tabled,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So what will happen is, when this is to be redone, we'll re-advertise for a reconvened public hearing.
Yeah.
You want, somebody want to second it?
I second
Can I
it.
ask one question before we table this, and I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, but for me to go get an architectural plan, it's a significant investment. And I think, I was just getting ready to ask Dave and Kitty Dale, we've seen pictures of what your new store's gonna look like. We don't expect you to take the time to get the state-approved plans. That would take a long time. Well, it wouldn't be state-approved anyway, because we can't do it on a. I think, even if it's on graph paper, but we have the actual dimensions of the lot. Okay.
Yes.
And show where the building, you plan for the building to set, show where some park, I don't care if it's on graph paper,
Well, I
with some
think,
dimensions.
I think it should be a plot plan. I think what they're asking for is a
Yep,
plot plan.
okay.
Yes, I agree
Well,
with
because
that.
I had heard architectural,
Let me
and
finish,
I'm like,
let me finish, sir.
Yeah.
I think the plan should show the dimensions of the lot, the dimensions of the building, the location of the building on the lot, the distance on setbacks from the lot size, where your parking's going to be, where your drive-through's going to be, and show that all on your plot plan.
Perfect.
And then where your lighting's going to be. So I think those things, so they,
Curb
their concerns are public safety, where it's going to be in relationship to the residential lot to its rear, where your pickup and delivery is going to be, where your parking's going to be. They're not interested in your structural drawings.
No,
not dimension-wise, no.
okay, just,
Layout.
Placement.
Placement
of everything.
You know, just,
okay, perfect.
And if you're gonna have any landscaping, that should be on there, that would be helpful. If you're gonna have fencing, the type of fencing you would propose, the type of lighting.
I think all that's required anyway for Kenny Dell to do a
That's
permit,
correct.
so if it is approved, Kenny needs all that anyway.
Well, yeah, usually what we do is once it's approved for zoning, I hand it over to an architect or, you know, I know, and I can't think of Mike's name, but,
McCown.
no, the
contractor has the self-storage.
Taylor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Taylor is, who we've been talking to and, having in bid the project, so we're just we're on a hold with him, and his architect is the one who's gonna do the final drawings on it.
Oh, so I was right on architect.
Yeah.
It's just a plot plan.
But no, but on a plot plan, so, and that's not a problem, I mean, because I can go through and do all that and bring that back.
That would be helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are trying to disrespectfully slow down the process, because we're definitely understand the issues you're facing. I think we're just really trying to play a mediator here and making sure that it's beneficial for all parties involved.
No, and we wouldn't break ground until spring.
Right.
Because
It's not a good time
it's,
anyway.
right now, with cement and everything going in, it's premium to do it during the winter. So,
I appreciate, your time too,
No,
conversing with us.
perfect. I will come back with the plot plan, and I'll meet with Sam and get it to him, and then you can forward it on to you guys.
Roll call.
But Dave, you'll need
Well, what I'll have to do is
notification.
get the plot plan to Mr. Melton, and he'll let me know when we have it, then I'll put an ad in the paper.
Okay.
So have a motion in a second.
Just to, did anyone?
Find out lighting, what the shooting requirements are.
No more questions. This is to table
I have
the
to
public hearing.
table to reconvene public hearing
Yes.
after plot plans are drawn.
Yes, perfect.
Roll call vote, please.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hogan.
Aye.
Rex Beckman.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And Dave, would you like to open a public hearing for the?
Yes, the next item is the public hearing on the 2020 budget. If anyone wishes to present evidence or information to council regarding the 2020 budget, now's the time to come forward. Please state your name and address and make your presentation to council. Seeing no one, Mr. President, I would declare the public hearing closed and suggest you proceed with your agenda.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a third reading of 3808. It's the annexing of certain territory out Northfield Park. I move that we accept this.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hogan.
Aye.
Rex Beckman.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Bear with me a second.
I would presume you would want to table for the 18th.
Yes.
Yeah, I move we table till the 18th.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hogan.
Aye.
Rex Beckman.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
I'm going to do the first reading on ordinance 3819, an ordinance approving additional appropriation of funds, whereas the common council of the City of Newcastle passed the annual budget for fiscal year 2019 on the 15th day of October 2018, which was ordinance 3789, where it is showing that certain additional funds have now been received that were not previously appropriated and are needed for certain governmental purposes are now available to the city from the Park Bond Fund proceeds, and whereas the monies received from the Park Bond Fund proceeds have been deposited in the city's Park Bond Fund, account 311, and have not been appropriated for any purpose, now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Newcastle that certain funds not previously appropriated in the city's 2019 budget are hereby approved for expenditure in 2019 as an additional appropriation. Said additional appropriations in the sum of $10,000 and shall be set aside in the appropriation line 311-001325 of the City Park Bond Fund 311. In making this appropriation, it is the understanding of the Common Council that said proceeds will be used for the following purpose, which is for a bond payment. I move that we accept 3819.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Jack Hancock.
Aye.
Gary Rollins.
Aye.
Dan Bickens.
Aye.
Mark Silver.
Aye.
Brett Kendall.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next on the agenda, second reading of 3811, which is the 2020 budget.
I just want to reiterate again, I know I said this last meeting, I've probably run Brenda ragged on my questions. She's answered all of them to my satisfaction. I also just because I've been thinking this week about the discussions that we've had as a council over the last year. And I know that, some things you can budget for, some things you can't, but I think we've had discussions on some things that we can budget that, should be considered during this time. I know we've talked about utility cutouts with the street department. I know Councilman Perdue has talked about, cutting out potholes and fixing them that way. And I talked with Mr. Walker about our budget, and some of it we can handle, and some of it's not really. We're a little more constricted on use of the MVH, but are those types of things being taken into consideration when we're outlaying?
Every day. Every day.
Again,
Mr. President.
yes.
Mr. Peckinpah asked me to remind you all, there's 5 of you here present. 3 would be a majority of those present. It takes a majority of council to pass an ordinance or pass a reading, so it takes 4 yes votes.
Right. Again, second reading, 3811, 2020 budget. Without hearing any motion, this dies of the lack of a motion.
That will require, just so you all know, the process to start from the beginning with the new public hearing.
Absolutely. So that would,
Move the others.
that would mute the other ordinances for second reading also. 3812, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. That's all for ordinances and resolutions tonight. I'll turn the floor to Councilman Hancock for committee reports.
Couple things. I'm going to meet with the traffic committee afterwards briefly. Also, I had a complaint, and I believe we talked a month ago or so. It comes back to an alley, nothing to do with Mr. Boatwright. It was one of his neighbors, but the alley behind him between Mauer and Lincoln and all that, there's some large chunk holes. Some of it's broken down and pushed up 6 or 8 inches, large trucks. I know the city, and you told me underneath Smalls administration, we don't take care of alleys anymore. But we do pick up trash and stuff down that alley. It needs to be looked at. And there's potholes. It looks like a spot needs to be cut out where the alley is sunken. And part of it is raised up a little bit and all that. There is a good, maybe a sinkhole, I would call it. Pretty pretty, 4 feet long, 2-3 feet wide, and just like something heavy's been on there and it's crushed it down. If we could take a look at that.
Come back away behind Lincoln.
If you go Elm Heights, you go left and right. It's that whole thing there. And once again, Mr. Boatright didn't call me, said anything about it. It was someone else, so I just like to, not throwing you under the bus, I'm just let you know that it's in your neighborhood. That's all, Your Honor.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Just an update on the Murphy Windows project. Did a walkthrough with the mayor and a contractor, and the estimates that we were originally given seem to be way off, just by conversation. Some structural issues under the windows is what he saw. But I don't have hard figures back on that yet, so I don't necessarily think that we should move forward. I did have 2 other proposals with other contractors that have worked with Indiana Landmarks previously. One of the quotes, and they did a walkthrough of the entire building, one of the proposals, which includes using some of the original sashes that are stored in that building, is more, it's closer to what we were talking about in the previous meetings. I think it's about $1,000 off, $1,500 off. I don't know if you want to wait on the original proposal, which I think is going to also include vinyl windows, even though that's not up to the historic preservation standards and guidelines, and the other contractor, or if we want to just move forward with the figures that are closest to the original proposal to get this project going before winter. I guess the next meeting would be, what, the 21st? I mean, we're using riverboat money. That's why I'm asking the council. I mean, if you want to wait and see if we have the other 2 proposals before the 21st, and then maybe decide then if we want to move forward with the proposal that's closest.
What do you think?
I mean, part of me thinks that just on conversation, the original proposal, we've asked him to come back with a more accurate proposal. I think it's just going to be way off from what we were thinking. The other proposal that we have, I mean, they know the issues that were pointed out in that walkthrough and still quoted us, about 26, 27 grand.
And I like the idea of us having windows that keep that building as looking as historical as possible.
Right. I mean, it's my recommendation that we just move forward with the proposal that's closest. I'll get hard figures and see what we earmarked, and maybe talk with Brenda, see what we earmarked at the one meeting, see if we are within that. I know there was conversation about how with any project, it might be a little different, and I was expecting that. I just wasn't expecting, it to be so far off. So I'll report back on the 21st. We'll start the process. I mean, we'll have to get approval from Historic Preservation Commission anyway.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
Okay. I don't have anything.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Chief, or Assistant Chief? I don't have anything back. Chief? Chief? Nick?
Update on the White Estates project. They have all the mains in and tested on the first part of the second phase. You have phase 1 and you have phase 2. Phase 2 has 2 sections. So the very first section, the mains are in, tested. All the grinder stations are in, and they'll be tested a week from today, Monday and Tuesday. And if those pass, then we have another section that can go ahead and start hooking up. We'll send out letters. Spice and Pike, we're approximately, that's where Kevin Brown lives. We're just a little bit south of Kevin Brown's house. The goal for the contractors there are to try to be, by Thanksgiving, out of Spice and Pike and hopefully have it restored. That's the goal, that's the target.
Good deal.
Based on weather and based on road conditions. So far, they've been favorable. They were pretty rough in the beginning, but as we speak, they're about 13 foot deep as opposed to 30 foot deep. And road conditions issues are a lot more stable.
Now, I know that we had to, I mean, we ran into some issues with going under Spiceland Pike, and we had to do that, and we couldn't avoid it. But how much more did that whole issue cost us than what our original thought was on that project? Approximately.
You talking about down there at the very bottom?
Where it all collapsed and...
I think we were $70,000 or $80,000 over.
So really,
It wasn't
that's not too
terrible.
bad,
No,
really.
not for the conditions we
Yeah,
had.
well, yeah, it was a
And we
mess.
also had to rebuild that bottom down there where
Right,
the creek runs underneath. So
okay,
Well, time consuming,
right,
for the professional businesses that are in there, it's
sure.
not good.
I thought I was gonna have to take him to Park on 3 and run over, jump over his, the dentist.
Anything else?
that's all.
Counselor? Ricky? Kendra? Doug?
Just real quick, I told everyone I'd let you guys know on the, how the FDA audit went. It went very well.
Congratulations. Good job.
Other than 10 of them being at the table. It went smooth.
Good. Anything else? Greg? Good. Anyone from the public wish to come forward this evening?
Good evening, Council. This is Sean Defoe with the Chamber of Commerce. Just want to update you on a few items that are happening from a Chamber perspective. First, on October 11th, there's a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Walmart at 8 a.m. Mayor, you've been asked to be present there.
Okay.
Also, on October 17th is our Chamber Luncheon. We're having as our guest speaker Corey Murphy of EDC. Looking forward to having him speak to us. All are invited to attend that as well if you want to learn more about what EDC does and how it has helped our community and our county. But most importantly, happening on October 29th, invitations have been sent out to all candidates who are running for election, whether opposed or unopposed, to a candidate forum being put on by the Chamber of Commerce as well as the League of Women Voters on October 29th at 6:30 p.m. at the Henry County Public Library. So it'll be in this auditorium. That's on October 29th. And that's all I have for you guys at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where was it, was the Chamber Luncheon or REMC?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
You probably said that, but I was fiddling with the phone trying to get it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Good evening.
Just a quick update on the Newcastle Baby Box project. Our balance is now $2,320.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
I beg your pardon?
What was that?
$2,300.
That's as of last Tuesday. My contact at Safe Haven Baby Box Incorporated went on vacation, and then we went on vacation. So we're all back now. We're ready to start some different fundraisers.
And the goal line,
Is there a total that you need before you can get started to go forward, or do you need the whole amount before you can go forward, or?
10,000.
The 10,000, you get the 10,000 to go forward.
After the 10,000, the city attorney's office will receive the contract, and we do not. They supposed to have mailed for your, for you to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who would that be coming from, sir?
It'll come from Safe Haven Baby Box Incorporated.
I would hope that my spam, they got something they thought was, if it came in and thought it was a contribution request, this is spam, I picked it out.
I had it sent it to the mayor's office, but that's the only address I have.
by post mail
Certainly
or
it's
email?
forwarded to me, the mayor's office.
It's by post office, not email.
I'll have her resend it.
That would be great.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to come before before the council this evening.
Your Honor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.